The Raptors, bigger deal. RJ Barrett out for preseason dealing with a separated shoulder. But as long as it's just preseason and it doesn't leak into the regular season, and I know Toronto's not expected to be a great team, and we tend to dismiss the teams that aren't expected to be good, but still, RJ Barrett is a guy who on any given night can drop a ton of points. It's not out of the question for RJ Barrett to lead the Raptors in scoring this season. That's certainly within the realm of possibility here. And I thought he looked really good with them after that trade from the Knicks last season. So this is a big deal, but as long as he's back for the regular season, and we'll see what the timeline looks like if he can get that done.
Yeah, and important to remember, much like we just talked about, they're also dealing with some other injuries too. You got Bruce Brown is out there. That's another guy who plays roughly the same positions as RJ Barrett. Then you have Jacoby Walter, their first round pick, another guy who was in the mix to be a rotation guy at the 2. He's also out. So now you add Barrett to the mix. So that means you're going to have to probably slide Ochai Agbaji in a little bit more. Maybe Jonathan Bobo plays a little bit more, one of their rookies. You could even go, Emmanuel Quickly has played off the ball a lot, so you could go with Davion Mitchell or Jamal Shed more and play with more dual ball handler lineup. So they'll figure it out. It's a chance for them to explore a little. But as Masai Ujiri said, this is a rebuilding season for Toronto. They're not running from that. They will really be open to that. So they're not going to rush Barrett back, and I don't think they're super worried about him being out long term or anything. So if anything, this means more minutes for Grady Dick probably as the primary wing player there. As Scotty Barnes will be in that starting group as more or less the power forward. So yeah, it's interesting. I kind of feel like Toronto might be a postseason team, meaning play-in tournament. But that's a lot more to do with somebody has to be the 9 and 10 seeds in the East. They can't all miss the playoffs. So,
but do they even want to be?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like we're going to talk about the top one. We're going to talk about the draft prospects in just a minute here. Like I'm looking at the draft prospects. I'm hearing what people that we respect that really look. I'm not a draft person in terms of evaluating talent and really digging through college basketball and stuff like that. That's not necessarily my forte, but people that I've been reading, people that I respect that really know this stuff are like already getting hyped about this draft and how good this draft class is. The tank race could be a thing. Like, I don't know if you're the Raptors, you may be better off trying to find a way to miss out on the play-in tournament this year.
Problem is, then you've got to be worse than Washington and Detroit and Charlotte. And,
good luck.
And the Bulls and the Hawks. And I'm forgetting somebody probably here. But yeah, it's not going to be easy to drop into the bottom 5 in the East. Normally we talk about like, it's not going to be easy to make the top 4 in the conference or whatever. It's like, it's not going to be easy to be a bottom team. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I think, Barrett sounds like probably be okay to start the regular season or right around there. And then that's, go forward with, I think a starting group of Barnes, Barrett, Quickly, Pirtle, and Grady Dick is interesting. It's not, it's not terrible, right? That's some guys who could play there. It becomes, if one of those guys is missing or like Brown's already out, how steep is the drop off to the backup players and that sort of stuff. That's where you're going to figure things out from there. But yeah, it's a kind of a fun group in Toronto. I was listening to Blake Murphy the other day, does a wonderful job covering the Raptors. And one of the things he talked about was the Raptors are not set up for this to be like a 4 or 5 year rebuilding process because they've already paid Barnes. They've got Barrett under contract. They've got Pirtle. They just paid Quickly. Like they are set up for this to be more of a, hey, in a couple years, we've got to be already on our way back up. So that lends to me like they're not going to like this year they may do some tanking, but after this year, you got to start moving a little bit more towards being a pretty good team.
By the way, RJ Barrett, just to show everybody the difference in between the Knicks and the Raptors and his stats. My goodness, he went from 42% from the field to 55%. Somebody cue Sammy Hagar. 33% from 3 with the Knicks, 39% with the Raptors. I mean, look at that, just across the board. The rebounds go up, the assists go up, and he goes up to 22 points per game. It's like when Aquaman gets back in the water or something like that. You get RJ Barrett back in Canada and suddenly his powers are activated.
Yeah, to add to that, then followed it up with a really strong summer for Team Canada
Mm-hmm.
at the Olympics. He was one of their better players throughout that. And this is no, it's not like, oh my gosh, RJ Barrett, he's living up to all the potential we ever thought he was going to be. Or, he was in the mix to be the number one draft pick at one point in time ahead of that draft and everything. But this is also not this wasn't a 10 game sample size. This was 32 games, basically 1,000 minutes. Like, this is enough where you could say, okay, there's some good stuff here. And there were moments where he was pretty good with the Knicks. His second season with the Knicks, you still got it on the board here, was really very solid. 44% from the field, 40% from three. So that's a strong second season there. It just kind of, as the Knicks got better and had other guys, he was relegated so much to the stand in the corner and wait for the ball to come role. There's a little bit of that in Toronto, but he is a bigger part of, hey, we're going to make sure you get your reps. We're going to play through you a lot. And I think that he's just the kind of guy who needs to probably be consistently engaged in the game versus, hey, just float around the arc and wait for it to come. He's probably going to be a usage guy. And this is, so far so good. So, yeah, I'm excited to see what he continues to grow into with Toronto.